salam sejahtera. Kami daripada grup 10 akan membuat oral pembentangan kami, dan projek atau tajuk yang kami pilih adalah berasaskan restoran. Alright, so saya Salahuddin Muhammad akan cover dua tajuk, iaitu background business dan juga business characteristic. Alright, so untuk yang first kali adalah nama bisnes ini adalah Dotis Pastries and Coffee, which is berkonsepkan restoran, berkonsepkan bakery, dining dan juga pastries. Alright. So ia juga beralamat di Suria KLCC dan mempunyai 3 cawangan, iaitu di Suria KLCC, Ceras dan juga Shah Alam. And then type of business Dotis ini adalah sejenis sole trading, di mana starting business dia adalah atau owner capital sebanyak RM500,000. Alright, itu adalah basic background Dotis. So untuk business characteristic mempunyai 6 poin yang saya akan ketengahkan, iaitu dealing in goods and services, sale, profit motive, creation of utilities, risk, and dealing in numerous transaction. Okay, untuk the first one is dealing in goods and services, di mana bermaksud ini adalah Dotis Pastries and Coffee akan berurusan dengan pelbagai urus niaga, berkonsepkan barangan bakery dan juga khidmat pelanggan. Alright. And then ciri-ciri major dia adalah juga mencari keuntungan dan juga memfokuskan kepada jualan bakery. Alright, so di mana kalau dah fokus pada keuntungan atau jualan, akan terjadilah sebarang transaction, iaitu dealing in numerous transaction. So berurusan dalam pelbagai urus niaga, so seperti berurusan dengan pelanggan, berurusan dengan pembekal. So jika dah berurusan dengan kedua-dua pihak ini atau pelbagai pihak, so akan terjadilah creation of utilities, iaitu bermaksud wujudnya pelbagai utility atau bil-bil seperti tender atau bil sebut harga dan sebagainya lah. Alright, itu basic dia. Dan juga the last one adalah risk. So untuk last sekali adalah risk, di mana maksud dia adalah Dotis Pastries and Coffee adalah sejenis restoran atau perniagaan yang sentiasa mengambil risiko, seperti mencari pembaharuan yang baru untuk menjadi satu restoran berkonsepkan lain dari yang lain. Alright, itu adalah 6 poin major yang boleh diketengahkan. So seterusnya adalah classification of business item, di mana kawan saya akan huraikan untuk slide seterusnya lah. So sekian, terima kasih.
My name is Fariza Roena binti Abdul Samad. I will be giving a presentation regarding business classification for Dotis Pastries and Coffee. We classify the business items into 6 categories. The first one is assets, second liabilities, followed by revenue, capital, drawings, and finally expenses. Assets is a resource owned by the business. It can be a person or an item. Both are available to the company as they could produce positive economic to the business and can be converted into cash. There are 2 types of assets. The first one is tangible assets, and the other one is intangible assets. Tangible assets is it exists physically. For example, cash in hand, equipment, inventory, and furniture. While intangible assets, it does not exist physically, but it still holds a value. And for example of intangible assets are account receivable, recipes manual, and also prepaid expenses. Among that is assets, their cooking stuff, which cost them 47,000 ringgit. Their company car, 87,000 ringgit. Furniture, 61,500 ringgit. And cash in hands, 8,000 ringgit. The next classification is liabilities. Liability is defined as an obligation arising from past transaction or events. Settlement of liability may result in transfer or use of assets, provision of services, or other yielding of economic benefits in the future. Liabilities can be divided into two types: current liabilities and non-current liabilities. In simple words, current liabilities is a short-term liability, meanwhile non-current liability is a long-term liability. Doty's biggest non-current liability is a loan made by the owner to start up the business, amounting 350,000 ringgit. Next classification is revenue. Revenue is an increase in assets and also can be a decrease in liabilities. In the view of an accrual basis of accounting, revenue is usually recognized when goods are shipped or services are delivered to customers. Meanwhile, for cash basis accounting, revenue is seen as cash that is received from customer following receipt of goods or services. For the month of November 2021, Lotus has made a revenue of 145,000 ringgit. Next classification is capital. In order to start a business, the business owner needs to invest some amount of money, or it can be a goods to run the business. Capital can be in the form of money or goods as such, buildings, car, and equipment. And Doty's owner, Miss Nadia, brought in 500,000 in cash to start the business. Next classification is drawings. Drawings is a money or any item owned by the company that is taken out by the owner for their personal use, and this activity must be recorded. The last classification is expenses. Expenses is defined as money or cost that incurred in order to gain revenue. Doty's main expenses are their employee salary and also rental fee, which cost them about 20,000 ringgit per month. That is all the classification of business items involved in Doty's pastries and coffee business operation for the month of November 2021. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Sabiha binti Muhammad Hatta. I'm going to explain about the recording process of the business. For Doty's Pastries and Coffee, the accounting cycle started from accounting process, which the owner of the business needs to identify the transaction that happen in the business. Usually, transaction comes in many forms, but for Doty's, the transactions occurred when the customers purchase their cakes, their pastries, coffees, and even dining in at the cafe. The customers will be receiving a receipt after they made a payment at the cashier as a proof of payment. After the organizations manage to identify the transactions, all the transactions need to be recorded in a journal, which divided onto two accounts, which are debits and credits. Good part of recording, it helps to avoid misstating in any kind of transactions. For Dotis, they had spent some money to have a good journal in electronic system to keep the transaction that had been made. Dotis managed to keep track and identify the business transactions without error by using that kind of electronic system. Next, after the organization records all the business transactions into the journal, they need to proceed with posting to the general ledger, which means all the transactions recorded will be posted to individual accounts in the general ledger. This process will allow the organization to know the balance of each account. As informed by Miss Nadia, how the account can be determined of balance of each account. She put a situation where she had recently Dotis received 500 payments from customer for the payments of cakes that has been ordered in advance. So from this situation, what happened is asset had increased and account receivable had decreased. Moving to the next step, adjusting entries. Adjusting entries must be posted to account for accrual and deferral. The main purpose of these adjusting entries is to match income and expenses to account period. For example, Dotis pays 3,000 premium for staff insurance for upcoming years. Dotis pays upfront and makes an adjustment entry to account for expenses incurred. Proceed with financial statements. The statements include of balance sheet, income statements, and cash flow statements. Once these all statements is ready and up to date, the financial statement can be prepared. This is also called as written records that convey the business activities and financial performance. In this process, the owner will see the business that they run is making money or facing losses. Last but not least, for accounting cycle, the organization or company needs to perform closing entries. This is made at the end of the account period and to transfer balances from temporary account to the permanent account. As informed by Miss Nadia, the balances are closed and assured that all revenue and expenses are zero before start a brand new accounting cycle. I think that's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Muhammad Mirul and I will be presenting about the strength and the weaknesses of doing the recording of business transaction. Before we go far, let's recap back what are the process of doing the recording as presented by Ms. Samia just now. First, we have the accounting process, followed by the record the transaction into the journal, after that posting to the general ledger and move on to the adjusting entries, prepare the financial statement, and last but not least, closing the entry. I believe by doing all of this process, there will be a strength and a weakness that actually we can find out. Let's find out together. The first strength of doing the recording is able to maintain the business record, maintenance of the business record. Alright, so the accounting recording procedure record all the financial transaction for the year in a book of account on a regular basis. Due to its size and the complexity, the business owner will unable to recall the transaction for the extended period of time. To make it easier to capture the data, generate report and comply with the tax and legal reporting obligation, most organizations actually employ an electronic record keeping system. Accounting software applications are used by the most organizations to facilitate the electronic record keeping and also generate a meaningful result. According to the owner of Doti, by doing the processes like recording the business transaction, they actually able to improve the business profit massively. Why? Because the transaction is recorded properly and they're able to determine the transaction falls under what accounting account without any error. Additionally, the business record is well maintained in the system, make the company able to track and also trace the transaction that has been made under the organization for the previous year until the current year without any hassle. Next, let's take a look on the next strength, which is preparation of the financial statement. Doti financial statement can be easily prepared since all the transactions were reported properly by using the auto count accounting system that generally used in the most industry in Malaysia. The owner of the Doti able to minimize the workload and reduce the human error for the recording of the transaction. The system itself came with a template that owner of the Doti can simply add the details that she had with her to the template, and the system helped to create the report that actually she needs. Using the system also saved the owner of the Doti from having to enter the same accounting data at many times. Next strength is comparison of the result. The precise part of doing the recording approaches and capable of pop out with the financial statement properly, it will actually facilitate the Doti owner to make the evaluation from the current year and also the previous year. Owner of Doti knowledgeable that her business made an income in place of the losses for the year of 2020, and with that she actually believed that the accounting technique is surprisingly crucial for any sort of the business. However, after all the strength that I explained about doing the recording of the business transaction, there are some weaknesses that actually we can take a look. Right, first and foremost is accounting information can be biased. Alright, so which is a shortcoming of doing the recording. The owner of the Doti action may have a personal impact of the company financial record. She actually can employ a variety of inventory valuation, depreciation, and revenue and capital expenses treatment strategies. As a result, due to the absence of the objectivity, Doti profit could be erroneous. For the last weakness that we're able to trace is recording the fixed asset at original cost. Let's take a look on how the Doti record the fixed asset. Doti owner has informed that she recorded all the fixed asset of the company at original cost. Meanwhile, there is probably a distinction among the authentic value and the brand new value of changing a fixed asset because of the time efflux, technological, transaction, and others. Thus, the balance sheet couldn't imply the authentic monetary nation of the company. So by doing this, it actually will affect to the company sheet and may result some minor error at the end. This is what the Doti owners should be aware and also take note. Throughout the research, I believe we have learned about the quality of the sole proprietorship firms and how the individual manage her own accounting business during the investigation. There are numerous things that we actually can learn when working on these tasks. We look on how the business owner manage their accounting records, specifically how they distinguish between asset, expenses, liabilities, capital, and revenue. I believe that is all from us.